Hello and welcome to Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Chester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to be your best self. The tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want to get you fired up about connecting with people. That's right, we need to connect with those that we love, those that we want to encourage, and those that inspire us as well. Now, many of you already know about building a great support team, so this is going to be the show for you. My guest today is author Julia Brooks, and she has written the book, Got a Text? Reminders to Live Out the Gospel Through Everyday Encounters. I know, a great title for a book. Let me tell you a little bit more about Julia. She is a self-described lifelong learner. She completed studies in both Old and New Testament before proceeding to earn her undergraduate and graduate degrees in her chosen disciplines. Presently, as an adjunct professor at a Christian university, she engages, encourages, and teaches her students how to apply theories and methodologies into the workplace from a biblical perspective. Julia is the founder, CEO, and speaker for Paradigm Shift Consulting Group, LLC, an organization that provides professional consultation, support, and advocacy for families having individuals with disabilities. As an author, Julia is driven to write devotionals, which inspire readers through anecdotal, everyday living experiences. Julia is married, has 2 adult children, and a grandson. So get comfy, cozy, pull up a chair, get your coffee, and let's get ready to get started. Good morning, Julia. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me today on Daily Spark.
Good morning, Dr. Angela. I'm doing well, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for being on the show. Now, I love people who want to do the same thing I am interested in, making people their best. That paradigm shift, hashtag mindset and mind shift are ones that I use, so I could not wait to have you on the show today. So I want to ask Julia, what inspired you to write your book?
Well, everyday people doing everyday things. And one of the things that you see everywhere is people are texting or reading their text messages.
Mm-hmm.
Children, teens, adults, parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, they're texting their kids, they're texting their nieces and nephews because, as you know, Dr. Angela, nobody picks up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I call my daughter. I can't get a message. I text her. She responds in 5 seconds. This is the generation we're living in. And I thought, you know what? People are texting anyway. Why not go ahead and do a devotional that's interactive and get them to text to each other and inspire and support them?
Awesome. Mm-hmm. 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 I love that idea. And you know what? I have to say, kind of raise my hand just a little bit there. I am guilty of being on my phone as well. I have a young adult child, so yes, I know what you're talking about. It is easier or faster to get a response if you text them as opposed to the traditional phone calls that we did with our parents. I definitely have to agree with you on that. Now, the concept of the book, did it come to you all at once, or was it like an epiphany? Did you have that aha moment and say, I have to write this down? Or did you find that you just wanted to share and the book kind of developed and became this great concept that you have now?
Actually, I think it started more on a spiritual development for me over the years. Because I never really thought I would be writing anything. I tend to be more of an avid reader. And what has become more aware for myself is hearing messages, going to conferences, and reading different scholars on how to apply the gospel in everyday life. I mean, I hear sermons on Sundays, there's application for the week, but what was different is how I take the gospel and what does that look like in the everyday routine. And when I started really understanding that and began to delve into what does that look like for me personally, So that's something I would share with other people of faith or those who just want to inspire others with positive messages. And looking around and seeing everyone texting, I thought, what better way to put that in a context of interacting within a devotional where people can text each other, plus have inspired biblical messages.
I love
so it was at least a couple of years before I really was very clear on what I wanted to do.
Now, as the technology changes and some people text, some people want to email, some people still do, pick up the phone and call each other. How have you found when you talk about your book and you are sharing with your various audiences, how do you make sure they understand that your book is as relevant today as it is going to be tomorrow and for the next few years?
This is what I found. When there's a crisis and we hear on the news there's fires in this state, another state has experienced floods, people are homeless, they need help, we come together. I have friends and family who have taken personal days and vacation days and have flown or driven to these other states to help. So we tend, when there's a crisis, to pull together. And I think God of Text, in its own way, kind of do that because everyone has some crisis or something that they need someone to walk with them on a daily basis. And so what better way than to unexpectedly get a text message that will support and inspire you. I've had some friends who have used the book, sent out messages to a group of friends, and the reply I got back was, oh, my gosh, I can't believe you sent this message, because what will happen is each person receiving that message will respond in a different way according to where they are in their lives. So the message is not necessarily going to get one type of response. You never know what it's going to do to people, and that's the great thing about it.
That is so true. Oh, wow, what a great reminder, because you just don't know where someone is on that particular day. So you don't know how they're going to respond. Yes. Now, with how your book is set up, would it matter if I purchase the book at the beginning of the year as opposed to in the middle of the year? Will I still be able to experience all that you have planned in the book?
Absolutely. What I thought about, one of the things I had researched and understood, people are busy. And a lot of the millennials who have graduated, they've read, hundreds of chapters and pages from courses. They're tired of reading. And they want something quick. They want you to be brief and to the point. So what I thought is, I don't want to put a calendar date on the book. I thought I'll take the longest day of the month, which is 31 days. And it doesn't matter where you start, because it doesn't start with day one, and they are just 31 chapters or 31 vignettes of story. So any time of the year, you can start mid of the month. It's just 31 days, so it gives you closure right away to know. It's just 31 short stories, a page and a half each. I can get through it. I make the point at the end with a summary, and then I give you the opportunity to text someone in a few seconds. That's it.
Absolutely wonderful. Yes, I love that. I love that. Now, what just popped into my head is that I travel, and this might be something that listeners, you may think to do as well, because I'm always thinking of new ways or different ways of using something that we already have. Now, if you don't have a copy of the book, definitely pick it up. But here is my thought. I fly a lot. Here, there, East Coast, West Coast, doesn't matter, North, South. I fly where I go. What a great way to use your book to text someone while you're doing your layovers. My layovers are sometimes anywhere from an hour to 2 or 3 hours. You could take a moment to just send someone a text message to let them know that you're thinking about them, or use the prompts from your book to be able to say, oh, yeah, I haven't talked to that person in a while. I'll send it to that person. We're stuck in these airports. We might as well do something productive while we are in there. What an awesome thing. I like that. I like how you have not assigned a calendar date to it so that you can use it any time. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing I just found that I got some responses back, people who have doctor's appointments, they take the book because they want to read while they're waiting. And absolutely. And I also find that people feel like, I'm sure you've experienced it, I've experienced it, when someone is pressing on your heart, you don't know what's going on. And so it's good that if you just finish your devotional from the text and can send them that, and who knows what that will do for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great idea. I like that. Now, as a writer, were there any obstacles that you experienced while writing the book? Did you have writer's block? Did you find that you almost had too many devotionals, that you perhaps had to just narrow it down to the 31? Did you have any trials or obstacles while writing?
Time management was always a challenge because life is demanding. And I find that the easiest time and the best time for me to write was really in the late hours of the evening. I'm talking maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. The phone's not ringing is very the phone's not ringing is very quiet. No one's calling your name, and I could do that easily because actually I don't even think about it when I look up at 2 o'clock. So it's not like, oh my gosh, it's late. Let me see what I can do. It's, this is a good time. I'm relaxed, and the ideas are flowing. It has been a challenge to edit and determine what are the 31 vignettes I'm going to use because you usually will always have more than you need. And I wanted the variety, something that would address singles or families and children and memories. And so I wanted it to be quite a variety, and I think I did that well.
And I can understand that. I love that you were mindful enough to think about that, to have the variety, to give something to everyone, no matter what. I love it. Now, it is almost time for us to go to break, Julia, but I want to make sure that everyone is able to know, how do they follow you online? How do they keep up with you? And if you could please remind everyone the title of your book and where can they pick up a copy?
Well, you can go to the website, www.juliaabrooks.com. There's actually a book trailer. You can get an idea of how the book is used, and it is on Amazon, and it comes both the soft copy as well as the ebook.
All right. All righty, listeners, now you know where you could go to get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is author Julia Brooks, and she has written the book, Got a Text? Reminders to Live Out the Gospel Through Everyday Encounters. And I love the title of that book because I am a texter, and I like to stay in contact with people, and I am guilty of sending a text sometimes. But I also pick up the phone, and I think it's great that this book reminds us that it's okay to text if you need to, but the more important thing is that we need to make sure that we are living out the gospel, we are living through the gospel, and we are encouraging and supporting the people that are in our lives. And I love that. Why not send that text to make someone smile? Now, Julia, one of the things that I wanted to ask is, and that I know many times we have young people that are budding or aspiring authors. So I do like to kind of mix some of those questions in. And the next question I have for you is about preparing to write. so many times people need to be off in a log cabin, or they want to go to Starbucks, or they want it to be totally and completely quiet in their she shed. When you are preparing to write, do you need coffee, tea? What is the atmosphere that you need? And the second part of that is do you find that you needed a certain amount of time to write within the day?
Oh, great question. I guess for me it was several things. When I decided that this is something I would like to share with others, how do I begin to do that? I carry around a pad. I love to write things down, so I'm still the hard copy person. And ideas will come up just through the normal routine of what I'm doing each day, and thoughts would come up, and I would write them down quickly, because then later in the day, in the late evening, which works for me, I can begin to view my notes, have clarity in my thoughts, be creative with it. A lot of it is from just observation of what life has been for myself, and begin to write those things down. I really don't need a cup of tea or coffee, but it's just nice to have because I'm a tea drinker. And just to have a cup of tea, just settle down, review my notes for the day, and then begin to type them out. I'm one that does not need background music or the things going on. I like quiet, so I can hear what's going on in my brain. So I would turn all music off, go in a certain area of my home where it's just very warm. There's a blanket, there's my computer, and just get done.
I like that, how you said that you want to be able to pretty much hear what you're thinking so that you can get it out and get it out properly. I like that. Yeah, it is. I like asking that question because everyone kind of has a different answer. It may be the same kind of answer, but so many times it's different. And I love that. I really love that. So someone saying, yeah, that's me too. And it lets them know that it's okay to be exactly how you are and how you need to write. I have to agree with you. Now, what makes your book different than others like it? I know that that's one of the things that, our publishers, our marketing team always kind of runs past. You make sure that you're able to make your book different than anyone else's. What do you think you've included that makes your book sparkle?
I think what makes my book different is it's interactive. Devotionals or really personal is what you get out of it. It's what you apply. It's what you meditate on, and that's all great because that's what devotionals do. It lifts you spiritually. It helps you to go deeper spiritually. But this one is interactive because it just doesn't leave you with application. It says, you know what? Text a friend or a friend or family. What you just read is a summary about it, and then there's the actual inspired devotional verse. So because it's interactive, it involves others. It doesn't leave you to just engross in it yourself, but you're able to share.
Right. I love the idea. I don't know of any other book where, like you said, you have the personal aspect of it where you're having your personal devotional, but then you get to text someone else about it, that it actually prompts you to do that. And I think that is just so awesome. I have to give you a thumbs up for that. I love that idea. Now, what do you want for your readers to take away? I know that you want them to have a personal experience. I understand that you want them to kind of share or text someone else. But is there any other takeaway that you would like for them to experience?
I want them to experience and begin to develop for themselves after the 31 days of reading the vignette, to just begin personally to understand what it felt like to continually on going as part of their lifestyle to keep connecting with their friends and family in a different way than what he has done before. It's not sending a message, oh, by the way, can you do this? Or you on your way home, can you pick up this? But I was thinking about you. I experienced this today. I would like to share this message with you. It becomes part of their lifestyle. And I think that's ultimately where we're going. And then I can visualize it, that across the country, your friends and family that are just constantly texting each other, inspiring, supporting messages as part of their lifestyle. And then new networks and new growth of families and friends will pick up that and continue it on themselves, and it just keeps increasing. I think that would be an awesome thing, like sports wave that they do in the stadiums. This would be like a tech networking wave going across the country.
Now, so many times with the books that people have written, it occurs in a particular time and space. 1920s Manhattan, 1990 LA. Would you say that your book has a particular time or place in which it occurs?
My book is timeless because each vignette is complete in its own scenario. So I can talk about a summer vacation that a family's taking. It can go sometimes in a rural place if it's just catching lightning bugs. It could be an urban setting where an entrepreneur is rushing out the house to get to a particular appointment and leave their coffee on the counter just to rush into bumper-to-bumper traffic. So each scenario is complete within itself, and it has its own time.
I like that. When we talk about the ideal person to read our books, would you say that there is a particular audience that you're looking for? Do you have a particular demographic that you hope would read the book, or would you say that you have written it in a way that is open and will appeal to all readers?
This is what I've found after the book was launched and people began to read it. They have become audiences that I really didn't think about. There's some niches like beauty salons. When they go to get their hair done, there were books in there, and they started purchasing it. I would never have thought to think of entrepreneurs in beauty salons to purchase a book. What's happening is what I've been teaching, and my students, as you would know, any student towards the end of their semester, they're feeling stressed because everybody has all of their courses, all of their teachers are giving them tests and papers due and projects due. You see the stress and anxiety. And what I have found is I've been able to encourage them with some scriptures, helping them to persevere, letting them know that there's a plan that God has for their lives, that this is building them up. And so the other thing that has evolved is using this book for students on campuses to text each other with inspiring messages to help them persevere. Again, that's that support and inspiration. So it's taking on several avenues and not just college students and millennials and their jobs, but grandparents texting their grandchildren words of encouragement. I think the bigger picture is because the book itself inspires and encourages as you connect with each other, it goes through a wide range of age groups.
Right. Now, this is a little bit of a different question, and that is, if you could sum up your book, and I'll give you a choice. You can use 3 sentences, or if you like hashtags better, you can use 3 hashtags, whichever you prefer. But how would you summarize your book, in 3 sentences or in 3 hashtags, whichever you choose?
Okay. Well, I'll start a few sentences, and I guess the first would be that it is a 31-day devotional, and it gives 31 different stories, but in the end, it helps you to see what the gospel message looks like in each story.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it is interactive, which is different from others. It not only gives you a summary of an inspiring thought, it also provides an opportunity for you to share that thought with others and, the impressed upon you. And then lastly, you do text friends and families. It could be one person or a group of persons, and as you encourage them and supporting them, ultimately they will see this is a neat thing, and they will begin their own text network. So it begins to, again, spread from connecting one group of people to another group, and hopefully it will just continue to move on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, when you are writing, when you are in writing mode, do you find that the actual practice of writing energizes you? Does it exhaust you, or kind of a combination of both?
No, it energizes. I can tell you hands down. The more I think about it, it's like I can't get the word out fast enough. I'm really hyped up after it. What do I do with myself at that point? Because all these ideas now are just dancing around, and it's just so real, and it's very exciting to see. And this is something that ultimately I know I'm going to share with us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, do you remember at what age you were, and it doesn't have to be exactly like I was 12 years old, but maybe high school or middle school or whatever. Do you remember at what age you were when you realized that language, that words had power?
I believe I was actually sixth grade. We were working on a certain project, and we were teamed up, and I realized when I was working with one of my peers that when we began to research information and put it in such a context that words were important in terms of what people would hear, what they will visualize, what they will understand. And it was quite exciting because we were looking at different ways of how we express it in terms of words and what kind of words we would use. So the good old thesaurus at that time was great because it just gave us such a wider variety. So I began to have a respect for vocabulary. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Julia Brooks, thank you so much for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today. I have really enjoyed spending my morning with you.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and thank you for the invitation.
And if you could, one more time, remind everyone where can they pick up a copy of your book, or how should they follow you online?
Well, you can follow Facebook and Instagram. Just go to author Julia Brooks. Or you can look at my website, juliaabrooks.com. The book is on Amazon. You can Google YouTube book trailer, got a text, look at the book trailer there, or on my site, and then you will see Amazon, and you can either purchase the soft cover or the ebook.
Everyone, Julia A. Brooks. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. Well, today we are talking about a kid's book, and we're talking evolution versus creation. And don't worry, we're on the side of creation. Our guest today is Maryluz Salas, and her book is God Made the Leviathan. Well, let me tell you a little bit more about Maryluz. She was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, where her parents met. She now lives in Arizona with her husband. She has 3 adult children and grandchildren. She was raised in a Christian, evangelical, Pentecostal, Spanish church. She was taught by the church and at home that dinosaurs didn't exist, and the teachers at the school said otherwise. Well, according to the teachers, dinosaurs lived millions and billions of years before human beings existed. But the Bible says that God created everything within 7 days. Therefore, if dinosaurs did in fact live, they lived before and together with humans, at least in the beginning. And who knows, maybe still there are some alive, but we can't see them, and we don't see them. But who knows? Is there a dinosaur family anywhere? Well, she says that she describes the book that way, and she likes to write books where there are creatures that were in the Bible, perhaps in very small ways, and that we may even overlook them from time to time. And we are now going to be biblical scientists and archaeologists as we look at this exciting children's book. So go on and get comfy, get your coffee, get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Maryluz. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Dr. Angela. Hello. How are you doing?
So I want to ask you, what made you decide that you wanted to write a children's book?
Because I've noticed that since the very beginning of age in my life, many teachers, they try to tell you, well, dinosaurs and other types of animals, they lived billions of years ago. Then after that, that's when humans began to live. But there's really no precise, specific evidence regarding that. And since I grew up in church, I had this, problem back and forth. Who do I believe, the church or the school?
Right.
My parents or the teachers. So then when I was older, I began to read the Bible and read. I'm like, well, it does talk about an animal named Behemoth, another one named Leviathan. And there's so many movies out there that they show dragons and things like that, and a dragon that has fire coming out of the mouth. So I said, wait a minute, this animal is in the Bible. The Leviathan has smoke coming out of the nostrils and fire coming out of the mouth. So then that's why I thought, well, if I had this problem growing up, like who do I believe, what do I believe in? Well, maybe other children have the same problem as well. And their parents probably have no clue what their children are going through. They send them to school, and, they think everything is well at school with them, and they have no idea what's going on, when they're there at school.
And it's so interesting that you say that, because I think about how throughout time that our grandparents and even and especially our great-grandparents, they never heard of a dinosaur. They weren't taught about that. So it's really interesting that you mentioned that. Now let me ask you this. Which character in your book was the hardest for you to write, and why?
The Leviathan. Because I wasn't sure if to draw him as a serpent, and then change it as a dragon, or as an angel with 4 wings, or a man, like the man of perdition, the Antichrist, with a tail. Because we see in Revelation 12, verse 9, it says, so the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He has cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So I was like, okay, should I just draw him just the entire book as a dragon, or change him as the pages turn? So I just left it as a dragon. Also in Isaiah 27, verse 1, it says, in that day, the Lord, with his severe sword, great and strong, will punish Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, Leviathan, that twisted serpent, and he will slay the reptile that is in the sea. So this is why I was kind of like, okay, should I make them, with one head, 2 heads, because, I also here in Psalms, it says, Psalms 74, verse 14, you broke the heads of the Leviathan in pieces, and gave him as food to the people inhabiting the wilderness. And so I was like, okay, should I make them with 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads, 7 heads, and then you go back and Revelation, and there's also a verse that says that there was a dragon with 7 heads here. Although it doesn't mean an animal here in this particular verse, it means a city, a city that sits on 7 hills. So it was very difficult for me, even though it was a children's book. I was going through like so many things was going in my head. I'm like, how do I do this? Do I do this dragon with 2 heads? There's a dragon, the Leviathan here with 2 heads. So then I realized, okay, the Leviathan is an animal. It did exist. Who knows? Maybe it's still alive somewhere, hiding, under the fan or something. It was an animal, but then it changes as a metaphor, as it is the Satan. And then here in Revelation, it is the Antichrist, you could say, in Isaiah 27, in that day, the Lord, with his severe sword, himself, God himself, is going to destroy, Satan himself. No one else but God. And here in the Bible, it does talk about an animal in Job 41. It is a real animal. It did exist, or who knows, it's still alive somewhere. And in the future, maybe he's alive right now. The Antichrist, we don't know that yet. It's going to be a man. It's going to be a form of a person, but it's going to be Satan himself deceiving everybody. So it was really difficult for me, this particular character of how should I make him.
And making sure that you got it just right, like you said, since you were talking to children, to make sure that they were able to follow along and be knowledgeable about it, but not be frightened at the same time, and be able to follow the story along. I totally get that, and thank you for being mindful, of that, and making sure that you thought about what the children would think about as well. Which kind of leads me into my next question for you, and that is that since you are writing a children's book, or that you did write a children's book as opposed to, an adult novel or something like that, did you find that it was hard to keep the book in perspective for a child's mind as opposed to, or maybe I should say, did you ever find yourself that you were kind of drifting off and you were going too much into the adult lane, and then you had to bring yourself back into the kids section when you were writing?
In a way, yes, because I wanted to throw in the man of perdition in there, and have him like with a tail and maybe 4 wings. But then I'm like, okay, no, I think this is going to be too scary, So then I'm like, okay, no, just keep it, less scarier. And that's what I try to do. I try, not to have it too scary. But then I think about, okay, all these movies, that are out there, secular movies, cartoons and non-cartoons, all the messages they're giving children, and especially like witchcraft and sorcery and magic, and it's very sad. That is very sad, and we're not even noticing many of these things sometimes. So then I'm like, okay, what do I put in there? I don't want to make it too scary, but then I want the children to see reality as well, because they're seeing it in a different way.
Again, I think it's very kind of you to think about that, because some people, I don't think that they think that part all the way through. They think, oh, the children aren't paying attention, or what do they know? And children really are paying attention to what the adults are watching on TV, what they hear on the television as it's playing in the background, even though they may not be in the same room. And especially when they have books and all of that before them, they're going to look at those images, and the words that they don't know how to read, they're going to come up with their own story. So I love that you were very mindful about that. Now, in that same kind of vein, do you think that when someone is writing about any type of story, be it that it's for children or for adults, but especially for children, do you think that they need to keep the emotion level like under a certain level? Like if we were on a scale of, 1 to 10, do you think that when you're writing for children that you need to keep the emotion level low so that the children are able to get through the entire book? And does that change as they get older?
I think it also depends on the child. Some children are very advanced for their age. They're very advanced. But I think, yes, try not to make it too emotional because remember, you're not the only one that's going to read it. It's going to be someone else that's going to read it.
Yeah.
Your emotions may not be exactly how the emotion of what really happened was. So just keep it as what you think it should be. Don't add anything to it. Don't delete anything to it, especially if it's something with the Bible.
Right. That is such a great point. Well, it is almost time for us to go to break, Maryluz, and I want to make sure that everyone is able to, one, pick up your book. I want them to pick up a copy of your book. So if you could please remind them of the title of your book and where can they pick up a copy. And for those who want to stay in contact with you or follow you online, how do we do that as well?
Barnes & Nobles and Amazon, and www.facebook.com /Maryluz Salas. But the book, you can find it at Amazon and Barnes & Nobles.
Alrighty, listeners, now you know where you can pick up a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is author Maryluz Salas, and I am excited about her new book, God Made the Leviathan. And it is a kid's book. I know, exciting. So now you have a book that you can pick up for your kids. So, Maryluz, I want to ask you about your writing process. That's something that I absolutely love to ask my authors because I know that we have some budding or aspiring authors out there. So when it comes time for you to write, what type of atmosphere or environment are you looking for? What's your process?
Well, I keep everything off. The TV is off. Everything is off. And I try to be alone at my home, or sometimes I can even go to the park, but I'd rather be at home. It's easier for me here at the house, and that's what I do. And I pray sometimes as I even go along with it. I'm going and writing. I pray, help me, God, help me, give me knowledge like you gave Solomon. And that's what I do as, if not before, sometimes before, during, and after, and I just go over it and over it and over it again and again.
That is so awesome, and I can understand that, and it's wise, I think, that you say, we have those moments where we need to pray and we need to say, okay, God, I need your help here, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So let me tell you, you're definitely a smart person for going to the one who created us and asking for that extra assistance, because we all do it, and I'm sure our listeners are nodding our heads saying, yes, we do. We don't always talk about that, but we definitely need his support. Now, I want to ask you that while you were writing the book, did you find that the title came to you while you were writing, or did the title come to you first?
The title came to me first.
And did you find that it was easy, now that you had the title, did you find that it was easy for you to go on and write the book?
It wasn't very, very difficult, but it was, I was just worried about, okay, I don't want to make it, like I said before, too scary or too adult-like or confusing. I didn't want to make it confusing either. So I just, throw in what Job 41, chapter 41, throw in almost every page you will find, verses of, Psalms that speaks about the Leviathan, Isaiah, and Job 41.
Now, when you're writing, adult books, it seems that things are very kind of cut and dry. You know that the character is either male or female, either by their name or sometimes even by the jobs that they have or where they live, how they interact with others or children. But with kids' books, sometimes the characters, you don't always know if they're necessarily male or female because little kids don't always necessarily think the way that adults do. So when you were writing, did you find that you were trying to make the Leviathan male or female, or did it matter?
No, it in the beginning, it didn't really matter to me, but I know that a lot of people don't like to read the book of Enoch. They don't include it in the Bible. But okay, maybe there's female Leviathans and there's male Leviathans, but I didn't want to put that in the book either because I didn't know. I wasn't sure. That's why I didn't want to put it in there.
I can understand that. And I think that one of the things that kids are going to do is that the children are going to make it whatever they want to make it anyway. Kids are just kind of wonderful like that if they're not told that it's one thing or the other, they will just let it just be, and they will figure it out in their own little heads. So I can understand that. Now, I know many times authors, when they're writing, they're really excited about the book that they're currently working on, and once it's published, and it's like, whew, I did it, success, yay, on to the next project. So I have to ask you, do you think that this is the beginning of a series, or do you think that there are other books that you would like to write, or is this it?
Well, I have another book named The Behemoth Dinosaur in the Land of Uz. It's based on Job 40. But I would like to write a sequel on God Made the Leviathan. I wanted to put, like I said earlier, maybe an angel with 4 wings and a tail and the man of tradition there, like making it like disguising himself as different things, because that's what Satan does. He disguises himself as many different things. So I would like to make a sequel on God Made the Leviathan.
I can understand that. Now, do you think that in your future writings that your message is going to continue to be about the animal world for children, or do you think that you will kind of roll over and not only talk about animals, but also talk about adults or other characters that are found in the Bible?
Right now, I was thinking, maybe a female character like Deborah. I was thinking of her. She was a warrior, she fought in war, and I was just thinking about that.
I think that would be great for kids, because now, especially with so many of the secular movies that are talking about, what we call it, like superheroes and all of that I think that they will be able to really grasp that concept of, wow, there's a Bible character that's really awesome too. So I could understand that. That's probably going to be a great thing to talk about. Now,
because as a child, I used to be fascinated with Wonder Woman and Princess Diane, and then and now that I'm an adult, I realize she was really a goddess. And the book's Acts, I believe it is, Acts chapter 19, it talks about her and her father Zeus, and I'm like, oh no, I can't believe I used to be fascinated with her, and so then that's when I thought about, maybe I'll go with Deborah. She was a prophet, a female prophet, and she used to fight in war, and she was also a judge. So I'm like, that would be very interesting.
I love that you have kept an open mind about it and that you are willing to allow God to lead you, wherever this writing will take you. And I think that will definitely open up a lot of doors for you because the possibility is just really going to be there. Now, I want to ask the kind of a more personal question. So many times when I am interviewed, people ask the question of, which I'm asking to you now, and that is, how does your family feel about you writing? Like when you're in the process of writing, do they help you maintain that quiet time? But then once the book has been published and you're talking about your book, are they happy and excited for you as well?
Yes, they are. They're excited and happy for me as well. But right now, since I moved away from Chicago, I'm really just here by myself with my husband. So, yeah, I was babysitting from home, so I would just ask the children, "Oh, do you like this? Do you like this?" And they're like, "Yeah, I like it. And then, so. Yeah, but with my family, I would just show it to them, online or through my phone, and they're like, "Oh, okay, it looks good. It looks okay. It looks okay."
Right. Oh, that is amazing. It's nothing like having that support team, there for you, that's there to encourage you and keep you going. Now, when you think about your past in connection to your future. And what I mean by that is that when we're younger, sometimes we want to do certain things when we reach a certain age. Did you find that when you were your teenage self that you wanted to be a writer? And how did you go from that thought to where you are now?
No, actually, I never thought I would be a writer. Never in my mind, and never crossed my mind, because it was very confusing. The way we were growing up. Like I said before, I was taught, "Oh, dinosaurs doesn't exist. The teachers are lying to you. Don't listen to them.
Right.
Don't worry about school. They don't know what they're doing and what they're saying." And So then I said, okay, what am I going to write about, So I was worried. I'm like, if I write about the Bible and, the secular world are going to be mad at me. If I write something about the secular world, the church and my parents are going to be mad at me for it. So I was like, it never crossed my mind. I was always like very, I feared, writing anything or even speaking about anything. I had that fear in me.
Right.
All the time.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they are so proud of you now for all that you have done and what you have accomplished, and it is always just so awesome to be able to set your mind to something, see it happen, see it come to fruition, and then be able to, raise your hands in praise and say, well, thank you, Lord, for getting me through that process. And, I personally want to say congratulations, on writing the children's book and it turning out to be a success for you. So we are down to about our last minute of the show, and I just want to ask, just off the top of your head, is there a bit of wisdom, a golden nugget that you could share with someone who may be thinking about writing a book? What bit of wisdom would you share with them?
Just, write it. Don't try to change anything just because someone's telling you to change it. Make sure that it's okay with God first. If there's something that needs to be changed or added to it, ask always God first. Like for me, my oldest son, I would always show everything to my oldest son. What do you think about this? Or what about this page? And I would constantly show it to him. He's like, okay, Mom, wait, I'm with my friends. But if anything, go for it. You want to write a book, just go for it. Don't think about it because you just never know what's going to happen. Just write it.
That's right. Just write it. I love it. Well, let me tell you this. Now, listeners, you know where the book can be found. Of course, it's on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and where books are sold. The name of the book is God Made the Leviathan, and the author that you just helped me talk to today, I know you were asking questions. I heard you, is Maryluz Salas. Thank you so much, Maryluz, for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today.
You're welcome, and thank you. God bless everybody. God bless you.
And listeners, thank you as well for tuning in. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, be blessed in the Lord. Bye-bye.